I'm sorry, I have a question.
Yes, you can ask me.
Uh, Sorry, but how many more lecture are left? I accidentally missed the first one on February.
There's no need to worry. We have approximately four more lectures, and it's our second lecture, so you will receive certificate if you'll participate in three more lectures. So there's no need to worry. Okay,
Oh,
guys, I think it's time to start. Can you see my screen right now? Could you please answer?
oh yes.
Okay, great. Then I think we can start right now. So let me delete this. It's kind of disturbing us. Well, guys, good day, everyone. Welcome to our second session where we are going to dive into the logic of separation. At the first lecture, we discussed about what is nation and how the nationalism appeared. And in this lecture, we're going to discuss about how nationalism affects the separatism and what separatism basically means. So, in this lecture, we are going to analyze the fundamental frictions between the two pillars of international law. First one is self-determination, and the second one is territorial integrity. Essentially, we're going to ask you, when does a community have a legitimate right to divorce from a country itself, like a parent state, and when is that state legally allowed to say no to prevent some communities to like divorce from that state. And this is not just a legal debate. It is a question of identity and power, and it is a very strong and explosive topic. So let's start. Mhm. So let's now start with the global talk war, the self-determination and the territorial integrity. Well, think of international relations like as a perpetual tug of war. On one side, we have a self-determination. You can see it, the small description right here. The democratic idea that the community should choose their own destiny. On the opposing side is territorial integrity. The territorial integrity is a conservative principle that existing borders are sacred and there cannot be like cannot be there cannot be an argue. These are not just abstract ideas. Like both of them are the gears that grind against each other in every modern conflict. In the modern conflict, it's Palestine, Israel, Ukraine, and Russia, and etc. So, from the Balkans and to the Horn of Africa, if one side pulls too hard and the entire international system can lose its balance. We saw the examples during the 2023 and the 2021 when many wars happened. And most of them are just leading to either oppression or total fragmentation. This tension is why the international community often struggles to take a clear side when a new independence movement arises, because it can be both harmful or it has both advantages and disadvantages, so you cannot be sure which side to actually choose. It's actually a battle between the right to be free and the need for order. Without this balance, the world would be either a collection of empires or a scattered mess of city-states which are really small. So now we're going to talk about the self-determination. It's actually an interesting thing because self-determination is actually the enriched in article of the United Nations, like the first article of the United Nations Charter, which guarantees that like all the people has rights to determine their political status, And it's mostly based on the moral argument that no one should be discriminated by the government and that no one should be governed without their consent. I have a small fact for you. While the United Nations support this, they also has uh the thing called like the how can I explain it better for you? Well, it has two sides, the self-determination, but against self-determination, we have the contradiction. And before going to the contradiction, let's dive a little bit deeper into the self-determination. Like, hmm, this ambiguity often leads to a like first come, first served approach to the international recognition, and it mostly leaves small groups in limbo without a clear definition of who you are and the right to self-determination. It's actually an invitation for any group with a grievance to claim their separate nations. For instance, you live in your own city and you and a bunch of your friends think that you're a different nation because you think different and that you're unique. And it's your right to be, it's called self-determination. But mostly it doesn't work as it represented. Well, without a clear definition, we understood that it is often described as a lethal weapon, powerful for liberation, revolutions, but also dangerous if used recklessly and without any idea of how to use it properly. So the count as the pupil. The territorial integrity, the conversely territorial integrity is a keep the house together. As we talked in the past lecture, keep the house together basically means that the country is mostly based like the ethnic civic like we had civic countries and the ethnic countries. Civic countries is like Canada, New Zealand, United States, Australia, and the ethnic countries is China, African countries, Central Asian countries, and ATC. So countries view their land like a vital organ. Just imagine you're a human, and if someone wants to take your heart or one of your organs, your brain, you won't live any more second. Like you're going to die in 1 or 2 days. Same with the countries. You can't just cut a piece off and expect that body to function. This principle exists since a long years ago to prevent constant wars and chaos in the world. Without stable borders, international law effectively would collapse because treaties and trade deals are tied to specific recognized territories. If every disgruntled group could simply walk away with the land they stand on, for instance, you live in China and you're from Beijing, and at one day you think that, nah, man, I will not live here for any more longer. I want to create my own country, and you're becoming a separatist, but actually it doesn't work like that because you have the same ethnics, but by the law, you can do that if you think that you're different. That's really interesting. So, if every disgruntled group could simply walk away from their states, from their community, and from the land they stand on, the global map would be insane. We would have more than 1,000 countries today, but thanks God, we do not have such a thing because we have the strict laws that stipulates us to not do such things and calls it illegal, which is basically called separatism. Well, and it is the anchor that prevents the world map being red drawn every time a political disagreement occurs. Well, and furthermore, this principle protects the resources, oil, water, and the helpful minerals that a state needs to provide for its remaining citizens to keep their life good. So, right now we're going to talk about the Wilsonian legacy. The Wilsonian legacy, we have the president of the America, like the 28th president of America, and we're going to talk about him. He told that the modern obsession with drawing lines around ethnic groups started with the United States President Woodrow Wilson after World War II. He championed one nation and only one state. So it means that it doesn't depend on your ethnics. If you live in one state, then you're one nation. That's the ideology. We mostly call it civic ideology. Mhm. So, Wilson actually intended this for European nations under the fallen Austro-Hungarian empire, but this was accidentally ignited independence movement across the colonial world in Africa and Asian colonies of the UK and other European colonizators. The Wilson's 14-point speech became a double-edged sword. It offered hope to oppressed, but created a blueprint for endless border disputes. He actually underestimated how difficult it would be to separate ethnic groups who had lived side by side for centuries. His legacy teaches us that high-minded ideals can have messy, untightened consequences on the ground. Furthermore, the territorial integrity. The territorial integrity is a fundamental principle in international law and that prohibits states from the use of force against the political independence or territorial integrity of another state. So basically, what does it mean, you ask me? So it basically means that uh, actually, uh, it basically means that it brings us to a mathematical impossibility, the sovereignty paradox. Like, we cannot give every self-identified group their own country without shattering the existing ones. For instance, a long time ago, we had Russian Empire, but to create a new state, like the communists tried to create a new state, and lest their state be created, they had to destroy the old state. So, as we all know, like I think most of us know the history well, Russian Empire collapsed and the new government appeared. But to new government appeared, we had to abolish the past government. So Russian Empire collapsed and then Soviet Union appeared. And the same thing happened. Soviet Union collapsed and foreign more independent states appeared. That's actually how the new governments are being built. And it actually proves that a new government can't be cannot appear without damaging another government, another country. So, to create a new sovereign state in short words, we must destroy the sovereignty of another. It is a zero-sum gun where one group's independence, like the one's independence, in another group, a loss of territory. We have same things like that in the Turkey with the Kurds right there. And we also have some separatists in the Xinjiang region, in the North Kazakhstan region, and many other examples. So this paradox is why many international lawyers argue that remedial succession is the breaking away only at last resort against extreme abuse. So, shortly, it means that it essentially states that you cannot build a new home by stealing the foundation from under someone else's home. That's it. So, I'd like to introduce you to Catalonia. Catalonia is actually the great example because it has a modern aspect of the separatism, the 21st century separatism. So in 2026, separatism actually isn't just about flags and anthems, it's about the global integration. And today's movements are often driven by how a specific region wants to interact with the world. Well, and and who gets our and the question we mostly care about is the money. Today's movements are often driven by how specific region wants to interact with the world. It's less about who are we, and nowadays it's more about who gets our tax money and which trade deals are the part of. In a world of global supply, we all know that chains, a new country isn't just a political entity. It's a brand that needs to be bought into by international banks, markets, investments, and increasing measured by economic viability rather than this military strength and the national anthems. Well, and right now we're seeing a move from romantic nationalism to a managerial nationalism, where we'll talk about the money, taxes, and blah, 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 the bureaucracy. So our example will be the Catalonia. Well, that's actually a very interesting topic. Well, Catalonia. Let's ground this in reality with Catalonia. Well, Catalonia is located in the Spain at the, as you can see on the map, it's located right with the, it borders with the France and Luxembourg, I guess. And it's actually a small country, but its economy is very, very strong. And it's located in the Spain's northeast, and it is one of the Europe's most culturally distinct and economically powerful regions of the Europe. And it isn't just a province; it's a powerhouse that has been at odds with central government in Madrid for over centuries and years. Historically, Catalonia had its own institution dating back to the Middle Ages, which serves as a powerful foundation for their modern day arguments for statehood. And actually, this long-standing historical friction has made the region a perfect laboratory for studying the clash between regional identity and national unity. Actually, it's a place where every street, sign, and school is a reminder of a separate heritage because Catalonia has its own language. It once had its own flag, anthem, and its language doesn't sound like Spanish. It sounds more like French. Well, the Catalonia's identity, the weaponization of identity, that's actually a sharp tool, which is really dangerous. The self-determination, the self-determination argument here is actually very strong. Catalans have a unique language, Catalan, which is officially which is official in Spanish after Spanish language. And the small fact is, it sounds more like French and its grammar more like the French language. And during the period of 1939 and the 1975, the Catalan language was actually banned in public. I don't know why. This history of cultural repression is a massive driver for their modern desire for a clean break from Spain. Well, in simple words, Catalonia was kind of discriminated. Its language was banned and it was dependent on the central government of Spain. So that's why currently they want independence. And as many see independence as the only way to truly protect their heritage from being diluted and bullied again, it isn't just about speaking differently. I think it's about a deep-seated fear that their culture could be erased by a centralized power. Well, we had the same thing right now with the Uyghurs, the Hazars, and many other ethnic nations in the China. And we once had the cultural abolishment of the natives in the Soviet during the Soviet Union. Well, there are many examples, and it actually isn't about speaking differently. We talk about that, and for them, independence, for the natives, independence is a defensive measure to ensure their language outlives the current political climate, and their culture will survive, and their language, culture, and their traditions. So, the modern separatism is actually mostly about money. Now we have the territorial integrity, and for the territorial integrity, we have money side. The money side, the Catalonia is actually the engine of the Spanish economy. As we can see, Catalonia has the 20% of the total Spain's GDP, wealth, and the total of 16% of the Spain's population. That's actually very good for one region. They represent only 16, but people generate 20% of their whole GDP. That's great. And the fiscal deficit, the gap between what they pay in taxes and what they receive in services, is actually the primary reason why Catalans want to leave. Because let's create an example. For instance, you order, you're sitting at the cave and you order just a small tea, like a cup of tea like that, and your friends order a big burger. And after he ate his burger and you drank your tea, he said, let's make it 50-50. You'd of course be angry because uh you you ordered thing that costs cheaper and your friends ordered a thing that costs a way expensive, but in the conclusion he wants you to pay the 50-50 for the thing that you both bought, but it's not actually has the same weight. So the same thing happened with the Catalonia. Catalonia is being angry with that it has to provide Spain's less developed, like the less poor region, like less rich regions from their economy. That's the main reason why they want to leave Spain. They argue that Madrid's solidarity tax system is actually a drain that prevents them from investing in their own infrastructure and developing their own region. So for the Spanish government, losing Catalonia would be an economic catastrophe. It would lead to chaos, the great turmoil Spain would ever had, and that would definitely destroy the country's economy. This creates a hostage of situation where Spain literally cannot afford one region to leave their central government. That's why they are having conflicts for more than centuries. If one leaves, the other will be abolished. So the other one do not want to be abolished, of course. So it prevents the other one to leave them. Well, and now let's talk about the Catalonia, the identity. This tension is peaked in 2017 with an independent referendum. As we can see, the Catalonian flags, the traditions, the culture. And in 2017, they actually tried to become independent. Yes. However, the Spanish Constitutional Court has already declared that their votes for independence are actually illegal, and Spain argued that the entire country must vote on whether a piece of it can leave, not just the people living in that piece. So it basically means that the Catalonian people cannot vote by themselves to leave the Spain, so the whole Spain must vote to Catalonia to leave. And of course, Spain wouldn't agree on that. The Spain population wouldn't agree on that. It's not just the people living in that piece, because the land belongs to the whole Spanish nation. That's it. And not just the local residents. Well, and this raises a key philosophical question: who owns the land? The people who live on it today, or the historical nation, the natives that has governed it for centuries? It highlights a major legal gap. International law likes referendums, but national constitutions almost always ban them. Um, for instance, we have native indigenous people in United States America and the whole American continent, and the same thing are happening there or happened once time ago. Well, and the cost of independence. Madrid actually, the straight strike back, like the Madrid responded with the full force of the law. They sent police, dissolved the Catalonian parliament, and they arrested the leaders of the revolution, I'd say, because it would be kind of not accurate to call it a referendum actually, because it was actually a kind of revolution when many people protested to leave the Spain government to create their one government, Catalonia. Well, and they arrested leaders for sedition. The Catalan president was arrested or was trying to be arrested. Carles Puigdemont fled to Belgium, to Brussels to avoid prison because he knew that if he would stay in Spain, he'd definitely be in the jail. Well, it was a stark reminder: a region can declare independence all at once, but without the parent state, they actually cannot do that by the international recognition. They're just a region in rebellion. In simple words, let's imagine that the parent state, let's take an example of the China. China is the parent state of the East Turkestan, which used to be the Uyghurstan, the country of the Uyghurs. But then at the middle of the 20th century, China invaded that area, and then it became the parent state by the historical, like they said that it was historically our land, we conquered it, and etc. Well, and let's now imagine that East Turkestan, the Xinjiang region, wants to leave China. Globally, it would be not accurate because China is the parent state for that region and many countries recognize its borders. So even if they succeeded in leaving the China, they wouldn't actually be globally recognized and would still be recognized as China. So this doesn't work as we imagined. It's actually very hard. Well, and they would just remain being a region in rebellion. That's it. And this crackdown divided, not Chinese, divided Spanish society and showed that the state is willing to use force to maintain its physical integrity. And it's also highlighted that the massive gap between the winning a vote and actually exercising sovereign power ultimately is ultimately a state only independent as its ability controls its own borders and police. Mhm. Well, and the cost of independence. The cost of independence is actually very high. So we have the predictions. The estimated potential GDP loss in the first year. Well, the cost of independence, let's just imagine that Catalonia got its independence, and in the result of 3,000 companies moved headquarters out of Catalonia because those companies were actually based in Spain, but now it's not a Spain, it's Catalonia. So the contracts made with the Spain are now cut it off because it's now Catalonia, and so all the agreements are now deleted. And the predicted estimated potential of GDP loss in the first year for the both sides is 31 billion euros. That's actually very, very high price for independence. And Catalonia faced a harsh economic reality when fighting for independence. Independence is incredibly expensive in a globalized world. The threat of leaving the European Union triggered immediate panic in the business sector. Business sector is the companies that are in those countries, proving that modern states cannot survive on identity alone. They need market access. Without market access, they would be poor and they would have no money. So, and actually, the most dangerous part is European domino effect on the European Union. Now on the map, we can see all the land which is being under separatism, which if Catalonia leaves, all these regions can act for their own independence. And as we can see, there are a lot of them. Transylvania, Scotland, Corsica, and any like a lot of more. And why didn't the European Union help Catalonia? And the main question remains. Well, simply because of this map. If European Union helped Catalonia to get its independence, this thing would happen because one rebellion could be make another rebellion, but in another region. Because of the domino effect, the European Union welcomed Catalonia. If the European Union welcomed Catalonia, they would have to welcome a broken up in Belgium, a fractured Italy. Oh my God, a fractured Italy and a splintered France, supporting separatists. Oh, I think we're limited in time, but that's okay. We're going to finish our presentation soon. Well, that's simply why the European Union did not support it, the rebellion of Catalonia. And the next one is the economic reality, the Spain's reaction. The Spain's reaction, like after the 2017 vote, over 3,000 businesses moved for their legal headquarters out of Barcelona almost in one night. Why? Because an independent Catalonia would be outside the European Union, meaning that new tariffs, different currency issues, and trade barriers would arrive. And the Spain reaction was very, very strict. This is where the Spain enforced its territorial integrity. Spain refused to let its map to be broken. The Spanish government made all the rebellions for independence illegal, but now they have their own language and anything, small things that any autonomous region would have. That's it. So, guys, in this section, we talked about in this lecture, we talked about the separatism, and we understood that separatism is never just a map change. It's a deep, often a painful surgery on a nation, on a nation's map, soul, and economy. We took an example of Catalonia, and we explained why some countries cannot support separatism movements in another country because it would lead to the abolishment of their own independence, as we see in this map. So, as we have seen, the struggle between self-determination and territorial integrity is the ultimate and unstoppable force meeting an immovable object. So, in short words, let's open the floor and say that the logic of separation is actually a very interesting thing, but it's actually a very dangerous thing. Think about how these principles might apply to all headlines you saw on your phone tonight in this lecture. And again, thank you guys all for participating. And before leaving, could you please write in the Telegram chat like your names and share names in any language you want, because we have a strict rule of writing your names who participated in our lectures to make to give you certificates. So guys, thank you all for participating. And if you have any question, you can ask me right now, and I'll be pleased to answer for all of them. If you have no questions, then it's also good. You can ask me directly if you want to. So guys, as I said before,
Sorry.
yes,
Um,
yes.
and on which Telegram channel we need to um how to say?
Telegram channel is a Telegram group, actually, the Nationalism, Separatism, and the Future of Humanism. Are you in this chat or
I
no?
think
You think no, you are not in this chat. So, okay, guys, who is not in the chat, please write to my Telegram. I'll write my nickname. Please write me your usernames. I will add you, and then I will write your names, and then we can count you that you participated. I wrote my Telegram username here in
oh
the
I'm
Zoom
s-
chat, so please text me if you have any questions and any problems.
oh I'm sorry I don't have your username.
I wrote in the Zoom chat. I can spell it for you. TLFOXNIYAR. Or you can simply write your own username, so I will contact you. So, guys, that's it. Thank you all for participating. I'm very glad to see you all here. Camila, Siruk, Tsaryofilia, Mikhail Ismailov, and other participants. I hope you liked it. So, guys, please write your names, share names to our Telegram channel. And if you are not in our Telegram channel, please write to my Telegram username. So I will contact you.
Oh, I'm sorry. Uh, how many more lectures are left until the end of the course?
This is our second lecture, and we have four more lectures. Four more lectures. Four
Oh,
lectures
okay.
left. So, guys, could you please say in the chat that you wrote your names to the Telegram so I can calmly finish our lecture? Are there any? Silence. Well, let me check it by myself. Yes, I can see your Telegram names. So, guys, thank you all. Goodbye. Thank you all for participating. See you next time.
Goodbye. Thank you.